In our example from the last movie, we took 3 steps, the first of which was to create the class definition. In the second, we created an instance of the class, and then we called one of the attributes of the instance, the tiddles object. Now, as well as calling attributes, we can also modify those attributes in the same way. So if we decrease Tiddle's legs by 1, then we can go back to our browser, refresh. As we can see, we can use attributes in a similar way to the way we use normal variables. There are reasons not to do this, but we're not going to go into those just yet. Now, if we create 2 we create a models cat, a moggy cat to go with our Tiddles cat, and then we're going to specify here which cat we're referring to. And then we're going to go back to our browser. Tiddles has 3, Moggy has 4. Not very easy to read because I missed out the line break, but the principle should be clear. We can modify the instances of a class without affecting the class definition or any other instances of the same class. So this extends the ideas that we took on board in the chapter where we learned about functions. The reusability of the cat class is part of what gives object-oriented programming its power and cleanness. Now, we can also add a new attribute to any of our objects. So if we want to, for instance, find out what color our cats are, we can specify that Tiddles is a black cat. In fact, we can even call what kind of class Tiddles was constructed from. Let's do that. Tiddles is and then we're going to use the color that we've just given to Tiddles and then we're going to put another space in, and then we're going to use a function called getClass. What this does is it returns the name of the class that the object, in this case Tiddles, was created from. So essentially, Tiddles is a color of the cat. We insert here, and then we insert the class name, the thing that Tiddles is and has, and then we give the number of legs. Perhaps we should specify that legs is what we're talking about. Now we're going to go back to our browser. Tiddles is a black cat and has 3 legs. Now, we might want to do the same for Moggy. But Moggy, however, will require either a complete repetition of this line or a way of automating the process of putting out this information? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to create a simple method that will tell us about the kind of cat that we've just called. And this is how we're going to write our method. We're going to write this, and then we need to give the name of the class from which it was called. No, in fact, we'll put the color before it. Now we need to access the color attribute of the object. So we're going to use a special variable name called this. And by saying this is a way of allowing us to refer to the object itself without knowing the object name. Because when we define our class cat, we don't know what cat we're going to be creating. Essentially, we don't know whether it's Tiddles that this code is going to be used on, Moggy, or any of an infinite number of other cats that we could possibly create. So we just use the variable this, which is a special variable, doesn't literally mean variable this, to refer to the object that we call the function from. Now this function that we put within our class definition is what's called a method. Classes are made up of attributes and methods, and in this case there are two attributes that we're working with, one of which has been created inside the class definition and one of which we've added from outside, and we've only added it to Tiddles and not to Moggy, but we'll worry about that later. And we also have one method so far which we've half made, and that is our method report. And we'll see how to use this method in just a moment once we've finished creating this piece of text. So far we've got this, and then we put the color of the animal, and then we need to put the class name, which is cat. Now we could just put in cat, but let's do it this way for now. Now we need to use the this name here so that we can refer to the object, and then we're going to specify the number of legs, and we're going to put the line break in at the end that I forgot. So let's take this out because we've just replaced it with a function, and we're going to say we're going to use the method. The way we use a method is first of all we type in the object name, then we use the same little operator that we use to access an attribute, but we put the method name in this case report, followed by the two brackets that denote a function. And our report function takes no parameters, so let's just get a report on both Moggy and Tiddles for now, and we'll see what we've got there. This black cat has 3 legs, and this cat has 4 legs. Now the reason we don't have a colour for Moggy is that we never specified a colour for Moggy. So we can't put the colour of our cat into the class definition the same way we've had legs. We can reasonably assume that all the cats, when we create them with new cat, are going to have 4 legs until something happens, like to the unfortunate Tiddles, who has just lost a leg in this line of code, perhaps in a car accident, who can say. But it's not safe to assume that all of our cats that we enter into this PHP script by instantiating the cat class are going to be black cats. on the contrary, Moggy, I've just arbitrarily decided, is going to be a tabby cat. So we can't simply add the attribute to the class definition in the same way as we could with legs, because one cat can be black and one can be tabby. So although this works, and let's just pop over to our browser and check that it works. Yep, we've got a black cat with 3 legs and a tabby cat with 4. However, we don't have very efficient code. We have these 2 lines which are essentially repetitive apart from the string that we're feeding to the attribute. The way round this problem is to use a constructor function, and we're going to take a look at that in the next movie.